Have you ever had that feeling where you spend, I don't know, 4 hours studying for a big exam?
Mm.
You're highlighting, you're reviewing your notes,
hmm
and then you wake up the next morning and poof, like 70% of it is just gone. It's like your brain is actively working against you.
Oh, absolutely. It's the universal academic frustration.
Yeah.
And you are not alone in that. It's not a moral failing. It's not poor discipline. It's just pure neuroscience.
Right.
Your brain is literally designed to save energy. So it dumps any information it sees as, well, non-essential. And that leads directly to what's called the forgetting curve.
The dreaded forgetting curve.
Exactly. If you don't actively fight it, within just 24 hours, that curve starts to, quietly wipe out almost everything you tried to learn.
I know that feeling. You're caught in this cycle, right?
Yeah.
You're using these passive techniques like rereading or
Yeah.
highlighting. It feels productive.
It does. In the moment.
But our sources suggest that to your brain, all that input is just background noise. No different than some ad you scroll right past.
Which is why Western cramming culture feels like such a constant losing battle. But then you look east and there's this massive contrast.
With Japanese students, for instance.
Yeah, think about it. They routinely manage to retain this incredibly complex, high-volume information, like mastering over 2,000 kanji characters for life.
And it's not that they're just inherently smarter.
No, not at all. The consensus is they just study smarter. They have, centuries of methodology and philosophy on their side.
Okay, so let's unpack all of this. Our mission today is to do a deep dive into a whole stack of sources on these Japanese methodologies. We're talking Kaizen, Ikigai, Kanban,
Yohari.
all of them. And we're going to connect them directly to the academic research that proves why these methods actually work. We're cutting through the noise to give you science-backed hacks to change how you learn forever.
So to really hack that forgetting curve, we have to move past just passive input.
Right. We need to force the brain to do some actual work, some output.
And that's where this idea of active recall comes in.
That's the core of it.
Yeah, exactly. Most learners spend, 90% of their time on input, reading the book, watching a video. But true, durable memory only gets stronger through the effort of retrieval. It's like a muscle. If you don't strain it, it won't grow.
So what's the method? How do you generate that, productive struggle?
It's actually very simple, but it does take willpower. The trick is close the book,
Just close it.
grab a blank sheet of paper, and physically write down, or maybe draw, everything you can remember about the topic. Test yourself with flashcards, but don't just flip them over. Commit to an answer first.
That's the real difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Western students often cram, but these methods teach you to actively cultivate knowledge.
And that cultivation needs strategic timing. That's where spaced repetition comes in.
Okay.
Think of it like watering a plant at just the right moment. You're refreshing its memory right before the information starts to fade. You're actively disrupting that forgetting curve.
And the sources give a really simple, powerful schedule for this. You review material 24 hours after learning it, then again after 72 hours.
Yeah. Then a week later, and finally after about a month.
And that intentional, low-effort cycle keeps the knowledge alive in your long-term memory.
Yeah.
It prevents that desperate, late-night cramming session.
And even before you start, there's a concept called nimawashi, preliminary research.
What does that mean?
It literally means going around the roots before you transplant a tree. So for learning, it means getting just enough background knowledge to have a mental framework, a schema, before you dive deep.
So you know why you're studying something and where it fits in the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the information it lands better, retention goes way up.
Okay, so if active recall and spaced repetition tell you how to study, then Kaizen tells you, how often?
How often and how much, yeah. Kaizen translates to good change or continuous improvement. The whole philosophy is about small, incremental changes, not huge, overwhelming ones.
And this has deep roots in business.
Oh, absolutely. It came from the Japanese quality movement after World War II. It was famously adopted by Toyota, the Toyota way, to just relentlessly eliminate waste.
The idea being that big breakthroughs are fragile.
Right. Real efficiency and quality come from stable, tiny, daily improvements.
And you can apply that directly to your own life. We hear echoes of it everywhere now. Being 1% better every day leads to these massive compounding results.
But the psychological hurdle is often that fear of failure or maybe even shame about only making a tiny improvement.
Which is the beauty of Kaizen, actually. It eliminates that shame. It eliminates the risk of burnout.
So, like the fitness example, your goal is 10,000 steps, but you're starting at 5,000.
You could try to double it immediately,
And probably get injured or just feel totally intimidated and quit.
but with Kaizen.
You add just 1%, that's only 50 steps, you avoid the pain, you avoid the intimidation, and you still hit your 10,000 step goal in a little over 2 months, safely, sustainably.
So you're reframing the goal. Instead of, did I revolutionize my life today? It's just, did I make one tiny sustainable improvement?
Exactly. It's all about consistency, not intensity. And the sources say this doesn't need a huge time investment.
The Kaizen time hack.
Just 6 minutes a day. 2 for active recall, 2 for spaced repetition, and 2 for focused practice. Over a month, that can make you 30% more knowledgeable without ever feeling overwhelmed.
And you see this in huge educational systems like the Kumon method. It's all about reinforcing concepts through small, daily, bite-sized steps until it's second nature.
Consistency over intensity. Every time.
Okay, so Kaizen builds the habit. Now we need a framework to turn that habit into real mastery. And that starts with focus.
You have to design an environment for deep work.
Which brings us to Shucho-ryoku, the Japanese concept of concentration power.
And it's achieved through deep focus, and this is crucial. Absolute monotasking.
I think so many of us in the West wear multitasking as a badge of honor.
We do, but the research is totally clear. Multitasking just fragments your attention. It can reduce productivity by up to 40%. Shucho-ryoku is all about blocking out distractions and giving your full attention to one thing.
That sounds intense.
It is intense, but it's not for endless hours. That's why a structured method like the Pomodoro technique is so widely used in Japan, even though it's from Italy.
It aligns perfectly.
It does, the standard method. 25 minutes of focused work, then a 5-minute break. A real break. After 4 of those cycles, you take a longer rest.
That structure helps you just get started, which is often the hardest part. But what if you're, on a roll and the timer dings?
That's where the flexibility comes in. The sources mention variations. If you're in a deep flow state, maybe use a 50-minute work, 10-minute break cycle.
And if you can't even start?
There's the reverse Pomodoro. 5 minutes of work, then a 25-minute break. The goal is just to build the habit of beginning. The point is the structure and the commitment to that block of focused time.
And to manage what you focus on during those blocks, there's Kanban.
Right. It means visual signal or card. And just like Kaizen, it came from Taiichi Ono at Toyota to manage their production flow.
And for you, the learner, the application is so simple but so effective. You use a visual board post-its, a whiteboard, an app, whatever.
And you divide it into 3 columns. Ready or to do, in progress, and completed.
The power is seeing it all. It lets you visualize your entire workload. You can see bottlenecks.
Yeah, if you see way too many tasks in the in progress column, you know you're trying to multitask.
And you need to apply Shucho-ryoku and just finish one thing. It helps you fight that vague sense of overwhelm that leads to procrastination.
And finally, to create the physical space for this focus, you use the Kaizen pillar of housekeeping, which is the 5S system.
Because if your workspace is chaos, your mind is going to follow.
Exactly. And the 5S system is more than just cleaning. It's about efficiency. The 5 steps are get rid of everything you don't need.
Set an order. Arrange what's left logically. Shine clean the space regularly.
Standardize, create routines for how you work. And finally, sustain, you have to maintain the other 4 every single day to keep the momentum.
So as you're consistently applying Kaizen and organizing your space with 5S, the next stage is about more than just productivity. It's about achieving true mastery.
Which is beautifully captured by Shuhari. It's a concept from martial arts and early Japanese theater.
And it gives us this framework for how you acquire a skill, right, in 3 phases.
The first is Shu. This is the initial stage. You follow the instructions, you learn the basics, you obey the forms, you're just absorbing the traditional wisdom.
Then comes Fa.
In Ha, you start to detach a little. You begin to break with tradition, adapt techniques, modify them to fit your own understanding. You're testing the boundaries.
And the final stage is Ri.
Which is transcendence. You completely depart from the forms. You act naturally. It's true, intuitive mastery. You're no longer following the process. You are the process.
And no matter which stage you're in, Shu, Ha, or Ri, you have to practice Hansei.
Continuous self-assessment, self-reflection, and crucially, acknowledging mistakes.
Hansei is basically mandatory for Kaizen to even work.
It is. After each study session, you take 5-10 minutes and you evaluate, honestly, what worked in that Pomodoro block, what didn't, how can I improve next time?
That structured reflection allows for immediate course correction.
And the research shows it significantly boosts long-term productivity.
But all of these methodologies, they need a driving force, a reason. And that brings us to Ikigai.
A reason for being, or a reason to get up in the morning. It's what brings you joy and motivates you.
We hear about Ikigai a lot with the longevity of the people in Okinawa.
Yeah, they often have very little desire to fully retire. They just continue their favorite activities as long as they're healthy. That sense of purpose is so powerful.
Now there's a really crucial nuance check from our sources here that we have to talk about. The popular Western idea of Ikigai is that Venn diagram.
Right. What you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs.
And we have to stress, that diagram does not come from Japan.
Not at all. The traditional concept is way less transactional. It's more about spontaneous fulfillment, joy from daily action. Whether or not it provides an income, it's just what gives your daily life meaning.
That's a huge distinction. It means your Ikigai doesn't have to be your job. It could be a hobby, a community group, just striving for mastery in one small part of your life.
Exactly. And there are two related mindsets that support this. First, wabi-sabi,
Appreciating the beauty in imperfection.
which is so helpful for productivity. It lets you accept mistakes and prioritize progress over some impossible standard of perfection.
And the second is Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing.
Just taking short, reflective breaks in nature. The studies show it reduces stress, refreshes the mind, and enhances cognitive function between those intense focus sessions.
Okay, so we've covered the philosophy, the practical hacks. Let's connect it all back to the hard science of learning. That was the core promise here.
Right. There's an academic study we looked at on Japanese undergraduates and their reading strategies. It examined the hierarchy of what's called metacognitive knowledge.
Which is your awareness of your own thought process.
Exactly. And this is where we prove why things like active recall aren't just good ideas, they're scientifically necessary. The study found a clear hierarchy. First, you have to have declarative knowledge.
Meaning you have to know that the strategy, like welcome to us, even exists. That's step one.
Step one. Second, once you know it exists, the degree to which you actually use it is determined by your subjective perception of its benefit.
How effective you think it is.
And its cost. So how much effort or time it requires.
And the critical finding was the interaction between these.
Yeah.
The influence of that perceived benefit and cost, that friction you feel. It's significantly strengthened when you know about the strategy.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, simply knowing about active recall or Kanban isn't enough.
Right.
You have to use the strategy long enough to prove the benefit subjectively in your own life. That's what lowers the psychological cost and makes it feel worthwhile. You have to see the results for yourself.
That's the moment it goes from just a concept to a real habit.
That's it.
That makes the connection crystal clear. We've covered a lot. But if you only take 3 things away to start, what would they be?
Embrace Kaizen, that 1% daily improvement. Prioritize active recall output over input. And practice Shuchu-ryoku, that deep monotasking focus.
And remember the advice from the sources. Start small, be patient, be flexible. You have to adapt these methods to your own needs. The idea that multitasking makes you more productive is just a myth.
It is. Focusing on one thing with structure and consistency leads to much deeper learning.
So if this continuous improvement through Kaizen, this pursuit of mastery through Shuhabari, if that leads you to a powerful sense of purpose, your Ikigai, then think about the long-term impact.
The research on this is fascinating. It showed that not experiencing a sense of Ikigai actually correlates with a higher risk of cardiovascular diseases.
Wow.
So if these small daily improvements can guide you toward that foundational purpose, how might integrating them impact not just your career, but your long-term health and your entire sense of life worth living? Something to reflect on until our next deep dive.